this state. Another thing, and just for comparison purposes, the average state legislator in the entire United States makes $45,000 a year. Ours are making $130,000. Just think about that. And you're going to have people screaming, "Oh, they're going to be living in poverty." I don't even make $60,000 a year, and I live fine. I really do. Now, another plank of my full-time representation plan, like many other states, like Texas, this state needs to start passing a 2-year budget. The reason I say this is because, one, it's going to take some of the power out of your representative. So if your representative is there for 2 years, and they're passing a budget every single year, then that means they have the ability to create law every single year and take money out of your pocket every single year. Well, if you take one of those years out of it, now they only have that ability once. It makes that much less important, which makes you that much more important. But there's another reason. That's because it's beneficial for the economy. If your small businesses and your big businesses know what the government's going to do for 2 years instead of 1, then they're going to be able to project into the future how to allocate their resources and to hire or to not hire. Or to invest capital here to have a return on investment. It's beneficial for our economy to have a 2-year budget. And we need to stop with these 1-year budget gimmicks. That's just ridiculous, and it just makes our representatives that much more important. So that's another plank. Here's another grand idea that is just common sense. Somebody, I don't know who it was, somebody was talking about repealing laws. Well, when you're giving your representative the ability to create new laws every single year, why would they want to repeal a law? Right? So once again, we need to design government to work for us. Well, they get there their first year, they pass the budget for 2 years. What are they going to do with their second year?
Repeal laws.
You have an opportunity, exactly, to repeal laws. Not repeal and replace. When you open it up to repeal and replace, then you have all kinds of fun stuff that can happen. Simply repeal laws. And New Hampshire, they do this. Not only does New Hampshire do this, they give a state dinner in honor of the representative that can repeal the most amount of laws. New Hampshire can do it. And guess what? New Hampshire, according to the George Mason University, is the #1 most free state in the entire United States. Yeah. And so those are a couple of planks. Another plank. And this is what's most crucial. And this is where your representation is lacking the most. In California, we have 465,000 constituents per assembly member. Now, I'm going to pose a question to you. If I'm representing 465,000 people, am I your representative or your king?
Your Majesty, I don't know.
Exactly, right? In fact, our Senate districts, which have about 1 million people per senator, they'd be the 7th largest state. Each senator is representing more people than 7 governors or 6 governors out there. That's not representation. So what my plan calls for is to reduce the size of our assembly districts. Okay? People are going to holler about this, especially the representatives in Sacramento, because as you reduce the size of the districts, you're effectively reducing their power and reducing their importance. But it's increasing your importance. So just as an example, how large are our districts here in comparison? Well, the state with the 2nd largest assembly districts is Texas, at 167,000 constituents. Wow. We're at 465,000. Wow. Nobody's in 200,000s. Nobody's in 300,000s. We're almost at 500,000 constituents. This needs to be addressed. And we wonder why it costs so much money to run for state assembly. How much does it cost to run for county supervisor here?
About 80,000.
How much?
80,000.
Seriously?
Yes.
Wow, that's a lot of money. How many constituents per district? 17,000. Okay, in my county, you have 130,000 constituents per county supervisor, and it'll cost you about 130,000. Same amount of power. The county supervisor in my county has the same amount of power as your county supervisor. Why does it cost so much money in my county and about $50,000 to $60,000 less? The amount of people you have to reach out to. To run for mayor in Lodi, where I come from, which has 60,000 constituents, costs $50,000. To run for city council in Elk Grove costs about $180,000. What's the difference? Elk Grove has 160,000 constituents. If you want to take money out of politics and increase your representation and make sure you have representatives that are more accountable to you and not the special interests, you need to reduce the size of the district. And as your representative gets closer to you, then the party becomes less relevant. And it's really about who has the good ideas and who can I trust versus, oh, I'm just going to vote R, or I'm just going to vote D. We need to get our representatives closer to the people. And I contend, until you increase your representation, you will never see any fixes to this state's problems. When you seclude 80 assembly members in Sacramento to represent 38 million people, you're not going to get the results you desire. Absolutely not. And furthermore, you have 80 assembly members. 41 needed to pass a bill. You have 40 senators. 21 needed to pass a bill. Governor signs it. 63 people can pass a law which affects the lives of 38 million. Now, is that a representative republic or an oligarchy? Exactly. Now, what does an oligarchy benefit? The people or the few in power? Exactly. And I hate to say it, but right now, you all are the enemy. We're living in an oligarchy. And so, I think the most important thing that this state needs to undergo is reducing the size of the district. So my plan calls to cut the size of the district in half. From 465,000 to 232,000. Even then, we're still going to be the largest in the nation, but it is going to help take out some of the money. It's going to help take some of the money out of politics. And this is something that needs to happen. North Dakota, they have assembly-sized districts of 8,900 constituents per assembly member. Okay, 8,900. 8,900. The state assembly candidate that raised the most amount of money in the entire state raised $16,000. And they got beat hard. You know why? When you got these small districts, nobody's going to trust somebody that's coming in and pumping in tons of money. It's personalized. It's not about the money. In California, the assembly race that raised the most amount of money raised $8 million. 16,000 to 8 million. Oligarchy, representation. That's the difference. And so we need to reduce the size of the districts. There's a plan out there that some guy's floating about neighborhood legislature where he wants to take each assembly district and divide it into 100 districts and then send one representative from that district to Sacramento to handle the business. I think that's a horrible plan. Because what are you accomplishing? You're accomplishing nothing. Yes, you're taking the money out of running for office, but then you're still concentrating the power in Sacramento. And furthermore, then I think you're making the party structure, aka the Republican Party or the Democrat Party, that much more influential, because now the party's going to dictate who they get to send to Sacramento. And your governor is simply here to vote yes or no. And that's it. They don't get to propose bills, none of that stuff. So his premise is absolutely right. We need to shrink the size of the districts. How he goes about it, I think is wrong. Another thing that my full-time representation plan called for is, before I tell you, how many laws do you think our state legislature needs to pass every single year to secure your life, liberty, and property? None? None? You guys are a bunch of anarchists. All right, well, currently, under current limitations, each assembly member can propose 50, and each senator can propose 65. For a grand total of 6,600 laws that can be presented every single year. How important are they when they can create this many laws every single year? I propose to allow each representative to put forth 5 bills, both in the Assembly and in the Senate, for a grand total of 1,000 laws, or 1,000 bills that can be presented every 2 years. Okay, this is going to help increase your representation. Because when your representative has 5 bills versus 50, are they going to give it to a lobbyist, or are they going to meet with the constituents and find out what they need? They're going to meet with the constituents. Absolutely. 100%. So that is something that needs to be addressed. But we also have a huge regulation problem. So another part of my plan is we need to address this regulation without representation we have in the state. State agencies can enact regulations by themselves, by fiat. We didn't vote them in. They were appointed in. Which is why we should all vote for Tim Donnelly, because he's going to do the right thing. Anyways, I hope you guys like Tim Donnelly. Yeah, I love Tim Donnelly. By the way, Tim Donnelly has endorsed this. And him and I threw a fundraiser the other day, so it was great. Tim Donnelly is an assembly member from Southern California that's running for governor. And he's a big advocate of the Second Amendment, big advocate of liberty. He was the one that actually wrote and authored nullified the NDAA Act. So basically the NDAA was a bill passed by Congress that allows the federal government to detain American citizens indefinitely. Sounds like freedom to me. So Tim Donnelly wrote the bill to nullify that. And if the federal government comes in here and they try to do that, assuming our governor has the spine, the governor now has the ability under state law to kick those federal agents out. So Tim Donnelly also said that. So I think we need regulation reform. And the way I'm going to go about that is any economic regulation that has an overall statewide economic impact of over $100,000, which is pennies in an economy that's multi-billions of dollars, but there's a reason I keep it small. It's because we need to keep them accountable. So any economic regulation valued at over $100,000, that state agency needs to petition your representative to carry that regulation as a bill. So remember, your representative has 5 bills. What are they going to do? Are they going to give it to a lobbyist? Are they going to give it to a state agency, which is effectively a lobbyist? Or are they going to give it to you? Now, mind you, I have nothing against regulation so long as it's done the right way. And when you design a system of government the right way, you're going to get properly functioning state agencies. And so I think this is a way to keep them accountable, and I don't see anything wrong with it. So that's a little bit of my full-time representation plan. Keep going. All right, that's a little bit of my full-time representation plan. There's more of it online on my website. Another thing that I'm really passionate about is education. And I think we have a huge problem with the federal government being involved in education.
Yes.
For example, in Guyot High School in Denton, Texas, they were summarizing the Bill of Rights. And they were summarizing the Second Amendment. And they summarized the Second Amendment like this. The people have the right to keep and bear arms in the state militia. That's not what the Second Amendment says. You can summarize something, but you can't summarize it so you can change its entire meaning. Now we must ask ourselves this question. Why would somebody want to rewrite history? What do you all do? You learn from history. You look back into history to think, okay, this is how, when I acted like this when I was younger, this was the result. So I don't want to act like that again, right? So, by learning history, hold on, I feel a sneeze coming. Alright, it's not right. I think, but anyways, so by learning from history, you educate yourself on what to do and what not to do. Effectively, history is determining how you act. Well, let's take that a step further. If history determines how you act, then if you can rewrite history, you can write the future.
Yes. Yep.
So we need to take back our state's rights position and effectively start educating our kids. Now, I think this is a complicated issue. I don't have all the answers. Quite frankly, I'm a big advocate of school choice programs. And one of the reasons I'm a big advocate of school choice programs is because competition always breeds better results at a lower cost. Right? What competition is there in our public educational system? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
We've got a lot of good charters.
Good, great. Yeah, I'm a big advocate of charters too. So we need to take back our educational system to make sure that our students are learning history. constitutional history, that they're learning economics, and that they're learning human nature. You see, it's in big federal government's interest to not teach the Constitution. The Constitution is there to shrink the size of the federal government. So why would the federal government teach people a document which limits their power? The federal government does not like free market economics because that makes them irrelevant. If the people are just humming along just fine, well then the federal government is irrelevant. So why would they want to teach free market economics? It's not in their interest. It's not in their human nature. So we need to take back our educational systems. And a big problem with this is Common Core. I'm sure you all are up to date on Common Core. We need to stop Common Core big time. How? How do we stop Common Core? You just tell the federal government we're not doing it. Simple as that. You know, and if the federal government wants to sue us and take it to the Supreme Court, that's fine. Well, why don't we have the Supreme Court send their military to our schools? That's right, they don't have a military. No. So, you know, we have the 10th Amendment. How about we use it? All right? And I want... Thank you. But I also want to talk to you guys about something. The importance of your state legislature. Everybody gets so passionate and focused on federal elections. You get so focused on your congressman. You get so focused on, well, maybe not in this state, United States Senate, because it's black. But you get so focused on federal issues. I'm not telling you what to do, but my opinion is, who cares about the feds? Focus on the state, and this is why. North Dakota has an unemployment rate of 3%. We have an unemployment rate of 9%. What's the difference? Sacramento. It's not the feds. It's Sacramento. In California, you can get a welfare package worth about $35,000 a year. In Hawaii, you can get a welfare package worth about $49,000 a year. In Texas, you can get a welfare package at most $18,000 a year. And Mississippi, at most $16,000 a year. This is not the feds. This is state. Focus on the state. Your congressional representative has 720,000 constituents. Costs a lot more money to be effective there. Your state assembly has 465,000 constituents. Still costs a lot of money, but you can be more effective there. I say focus on your state. Let's turn this state around. Many people want to leave California. Well, you know, you're not really accomplishing much by leaving California. You're going somewhere where the people you're evading will eventually catch up to you. So stand and fight. That's what I'm saying. Stand and fight here. So those are a couple of things. I want to talk to you about two more things. And I think one thing that we Republicans need to learn to do is to make the other side define themselves. We are not good at proposing bills and laws which make the other side define who they are. They're always doing it to us. We need to do it to them. So two things that I'm really, really passionate about, and the two things that I'm campaigning on is one, I want to exempt middle-income earners from overtime taxes. First off, I'm not a big fan of the income tax. I don't like working for free. So I'm not a fan of the income tax. Well, you know, the income tax didn't come and hit everybody in one foul swoop. It came and hit everybody through incrementalism. So I think if we're going to take it out, we take it back through incrementalism. And so what I'm proposing is if you're a middle income earner and you're working overtime, you're spending an extra 5, 10, 15 hours away from your family so you can provide for them, the government should punish you by bumping you into a higher tax bracket and taking more of your money. The government should reward that extra labor and not tax you at all. And so I'm proposing, when I get to Sacramento, I'm going to propose a bill to effectively exempt middle-income earners from overtime taxes. And I would like to see the left, who cares about the middle class, to vote against that. And so I have another one, but before I present this one, I have a simple analogy for you. Let's say you buy a jet ski. This is big time with property rights. Let's say you buy a jet ski. and the government forces you to pay a $500 jet ski user fee every single year. And if you don't pay that $500 jet ski user fee every single year, the government's going to take your jet ski even though you paid for it. So my question to you is, who owns that jet ski?
Yeah.
All right. Well, so another thing that I'm going to run on is what I like to call my Senior Citizen Home Protection Act. And I want to exempt senior citizens who are not on a government pension from property taxes. The way I see it is, after you work your entire life and you pay taxes your entire life, you should feel secure in your home. You shouldn't be worried that the politician is going to come hand in hand with the tax man and take your property if you don't pay rent every single year. And so I'd like to see the left vote against that as well. I want to help people be secure in their home. And these are two bills that's really going to force the other side to define who they are. And, those are some of the things I'm really passionate about. I hope you learned a little bit from me. But I'd just like to say that force and coercion are the tools of dictators. Knowledge and education and the mind are tools of free people and courageous leaders. I want to be a courageous leader, but I'm going to need help from people like you. And so one of the things, now I know none of you all are in my district, but I did bring these envelopes with me. And these envelopes are contribution envelopes. And inside each envelope, what you're going to find is my business card. And what this business card is, it's your receipt. And on the back of this receipt is my phone number. And you can call me whenever you want. Because I'm not a representative who's going to run away from the people. I'm here to represent you. Just like Brian is. So I'm going to pass these out. And if you guys can each give me $100, that'd be great. If you can afford 100, if you can afford 50, that would be great as well. You all have friends. If you can convince them to give to me as well. The fact is, this cannot be accomplished without resources. And the district that I'm coming from is not a Republican district. It's a Democrat district. But we have some pretty bad Democrats running that have some history on them that I would love to expose. And I need resources to expose. So I hope you all can find it in your hearts to be generous and help me out a little bit. And with that being said, I would love to take some questions.
Do we have pomegranate jam for $100?
No, I actually just ate my last can of the pomegranate strawberry marmalade, and it was good too. It was good. She had her hand up first.
What's the breakdown of the Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, etc.?
Okay, in my district, it's 45% Democrat, 31% Republican, and 18% Independent.
Doable.
Does it include the Metro?
No, that's Kristen Olsen district.
So you're Stockton?
No, I'm Lodi, Galt, Elk Grove, and Southern Sacramento.
How are you going to, your ideas were good about making the district smaller and taking away the income so that you can afford, I guess, to have more representation. How are you going to go up against all the Democrats? They aren't going to go for that.
They aren't, and the way we're going to do this is through a ballot initiative.
Through what?
Through a ballot initiative. This is an idea that does not seek to benefit the Republicans, and it does not seek to benefit the Democrats. It seeks to benefit the people. And so when I'm elected, I'm going to use the power of my office and use the bully pulpit to try to raise as much money as I can, as much awareness as I can, write as many op-eds as I can, to get this issue out there. And then we're going to try to get it on the ballot. And I think once it's on the ballot, and the people see that we're cutting their pay in half, essentially. Still a living wage, but we're cutting it in half. We're shrinking the size of the district. We're limiting the amount of laws they can propose, which is still 1,000, every 2 years. That's a lot of laws. I think they're going to vote for it. Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
I think you mentioned something about the governor standing up to the federal government. You mentioned something like that. What I'd like to say is, about a month ago, the governor decided not to enforce federal laws that related to immigration, and declared California like an asylum state. And Gavin Newsom, who is now our lieutenant governor, when he was the mayor of San Francisco, he declared San Francisco was an asylum city. So they both have a track record of flaunting federal law.
Yeah, for the NDAA. I hope so, because I don't think an American citizen should ever be indefinitely detained. I mean, the fact that the NDAA bill passed the House, which is staffed with Republicans, blows my mind. But then again, it doesn't.
Well, did
So,
they get it?
I don't know. They probably passed it before they read it. Nancy Pelosi would lead in that one. Yeah.
Have you connected with Mark Meckler?
I have not connected with Mark Meckler, no.
He has some of the same thoughts you have.
I know Mark Meckler is very big on structuring government so that it works for the people. And you all don't know me, but I'm really a nerd and I read a lot of history. And Mark Meckler is actually the only person I've ever met who we were talking about the worst year in America's history. And I say it's 1913.
Yes.
And so I always say Federal Reserve, the income tax, which is 16th Amendment, and then the 17th Amendment, which is essentially an unconstitutional amendment because it ruined the entire United States Constitution by having the senators elected by the people. Okay? But there's one thing that I leave out because nobody really ever knows about it, and that's reapportionment. Every 10 years after the census, the House of Representatives would increase the amount of representatives they have there to keep the size of districts. Yeah, they didn't really keep it small, but they did something at least. They were doing something. And that stopped in 1913. And he's the only person I've ever met that knew about that, so I think that's pretty cool.
We actually have over 1,000 in California for our
We
population.
couldn't hear that.
Shouldn't we have more than 1,000 representatives here in California because of our population?
Well, I don't know about 1,000. I don't know what the number is on that. But we could do this. New Hampshire, they have 425 in their state assembly. And people think, oh, it's an unwieldy number. Well, they do it. They work well. We can do it with 425. And my plan isn't that radical. It just takes it from 80 to 160. That's not that much.
Right.
So I hope you guys, are big advocates of my plan. Go on my website, sign up for I actually have a sign-up sheet here if anybody wants to sign up to receive my emails. Once again, if you can contribute, I really appreciate it. But thank you for your time. All right.
I would just like to say, from my perspective, it is a delight to find a young conservative who has a program and has ideas. Can they all work? We don't know. But if you don't float them out there and you don't start working on them, they're never going to happen. So I have to applaud what you have done. And hope to see you next on November 16th on a really fun night. It'll be fun company. I think it'll be a fun evening for all. And that'll be our last event of this year. So we hope to see you there. And thank